Hello. Welcome to another episode of Read With Me. I'm yours truly, Isabel Bedell, and I'm here to read with you. I am so excited to begin this whole new book with you for this month. We are reading John Maxwell, the 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. If you're wondering where is the book, it's right here. I just like to get these off because I think they're kind of annoying. But this is the book that we're reading. Here's John C. Maxwell. If you haven't heard of John C. Maxwell, make sure to Google him, make sure to YouTube him. The guy is freaking brilliant. He's one of the thought leaders within my generation that has not only, he's like Tony Robbins, he's like up there with Tony. And to me, he's one of the top leading coaches in this space. I see John Maxwell as like the pinnacle of coaching in the coaching industry, such as like Brendon Burchard and a couple different people. I need to get my list together, but those are the ones that are coming up in the top of my head. And we work with coaches. That's our audience. It has been our audience since 2017 that we've been working with coaches, and we love coaches because they're selling more than just a service. They're selling, they're offering, and they're transforming lives. And John C. Maxwell is known for not only his leadership, but his ability to connect leadership, faith, and incredible tactical, amazing, practical ways to not only grow your team, grow your business, grow internally. Like, he's overall amazing. Now, I'm usually covering the financial freedom side of Billionaireette, and this particular book falls right in the cusp of, personal freedom and obviously financial freedom, because what we're going to be talking about, if you do not have these fundamentals down in your life or in your business, if you're not aware of them, there's no way that you can get to the next level within your ability to grow. And we all know that the more that you know, the more that you can grow, the more that you can help others. And obviously that creates impact, and with more impact, that creates more income. So that's why I chose this book, because it's what we fill ourselves in the inside with will reflect on the outside. So without further ado, I'm going to start with chapter number 1 of the 21 Laws of Leadership. We have an ongoing little what is this? It's kind of funny. Like when we were reading Tony Robbins' Money Master the Game, the book is massive. This book is it's a good size, just so you are aware. It has over 300 pages. It actually has one book plus an excerpt of his other book with, I think the guy is brilliant for doing that. Not a lot of books do this. So I'm really pumped about that. Let's get into chapter number 1, the law of the lid. Okay, it's leadership ability determines a person's level of effectiveness. And I'm really excited about this because if you are in a position right now where you're ready to take things to the next level, if you're ready to take things to the next level within your business, your life, your relationships, your partnerships, your children, if you have children, your spouse, this is a book for breakthroughs. So hold on to your seats, grab your cup of coffee, grab your cup of tea, do what you got to do. And I hope I have your full attention. Okay, let's get into it. I often open my leadership conferences by explaining the law of the lid because it helps people understand the value of leadership. If you can get a handle on this law, you will see the incredible impact of leadership on every aspect of life. So here it is. Leadership ability is the lid that determines a person's level of effectiveness. The lower an individual's ability to lead, the lower the lid of his potential. The higher the individual's ability to lead, the higher the lid of his potential. To give you an example, if your leadership rate's an 8, then your effectiveness can never be greater than a 7. If your leadership is only a 4, then your effectiveness will no longer be higher than a 3. Your leadership ability, for better or for worse, always determines your effectiveness and the potential impact of your organization. Leadership is the ability. Leadership ability is the lid that determines a person's level of effectiveness. So let me tell you a story that illustrates the law of the lid. In 1930, 2 young brothers named Dick and Maurice, Dick and Maurice moved from New Hampshire to California in search of the American dream. They had just gotten out of high school and they saw few opportunities back home. They headed straight to Hollywood, where they eventually found jobs on a movie studio set. And after a while, their entrepreneurial spirit and interest in the entertainment industry prompted them to open up a theater in Glendale, a town about 5 miles northeast of Hollywood. But despite of all their efforts, the brothers just couldn't make the business profitable. In the 4 years they ran the theater, they weren't able to consistently generate enough money to pay the $100 a month rent that their landlord required. What year was this? $100. 1930. That must have been like, $1,000 now today. A new opportunity. The brothers' desire for success was strong, so they kept looking for better business opportunities. In 1937, they finally struck on something that worked. They opened a small drive-in restaurant in Pasadena, located just east of Glendale. People from Southern California had become very dependent on their cars, and the culture was changing to accommodate that, including its businesses. The drive-in restaurant was a phenomenon that sprang up in the early 30s, and it was becoming very popular. And rather than being invited into a dining room to eat, customers would drive into a parking lot around a small restaurant, place their orders with car hobs, and receive their food on trays right into their car. The food was served in china plates, complete with glassware and metal utensils. It was a timely idea in a society that was becoming faster paced and increasingly mobile. Dick and Maurice's tiny drive-in restaurant was a great success, and in 1940 they decided to move the operation to San Bernardino, a working-class boomtown 50 miles east of Los Angeles. They built a larger facility and expanded the menu from hot dog, fries, and shakes to including barbecued beef and pork sandwiches, hamburgers, and other items. Their business exploded. Annual sales reached $200,000, and the brothers found themselves splitting $50,000 in profits every year, a sum that put them in the town's financial elite. In 1948, their institution told them that times were changing, and they made modifications to the restaurant business. They eliminated the car hops and started serving only walk-up customers, and they also streamlined everything. They reduced their menu and focused on selling hamburgers. They eliminated plates, glassware, and metal utensils, and switching them into paper and plastic products instead. They reduced their costs and lowered their prices and charged customers. They also created what they call the speedy service system. Their kitchen became like an assembly line where each employee focused on service with speed. The brothers' goal was to fill each customer's order in 30 seconds or less, and they succeeded. By mid-1950s, annual revenue hit $350,000, and by then, Dick and Maurice split net profits of about $100,000 each year. Who were these brothers? And back in those days, who could have found out by driving to their small restaurant on the corner of 14th and East Street in San Bernardino? On the front of the small octagonal building hung a neon sign that simply said McDonald's Burgers. Dick and Maurice McDonald had hit the great American jackpot. And the rest, as they say, is history, right? Wrong. The McDonald's never went any further because their weak leadership put a lid on their ability to succeed. Damn! That is the OG story of McDonald's until it was bought over by the other guy that pretty much made it a franchise. Dang! Whew. Okay, the story behind the story. It's true that McDonald's brothers were financially secure. Theirs was one of the most profitable restaurants and enterprises in the country, and they felt that they had a hard time spending all the money that they made. Their genius was in customer service and kitchen organization. That talent led to creation of a new system of food and beverage service. And in fact, their talent was so widely known in the food service circle that people started writing them and visiting from all over the country to learn more about their methods. That talent led to creation of a new system of food and beverage service. Wow. At one point, they received as many as 300 calls and letters every single month. That led them to the idea of marketing that McDonald's concept. The idea of franchising restaurants wasn't new. It had been around for several decades. To the McDonald's brothers, it looked like a way to make money without having to open another restaurant themselves. In 1952, they got started. But their effort was dismal failure. The reason it was simple. They lacked the leadership necessary to make a larger enterprise effective. The vision was there, but the leadership wasn't. Dick and Maurice were good single restaurant owners. They understood how to run a business, make their systems efficient, cut costs, and increase profits. They weren't efficient managers, but they were not leaders. Their thinking patterns clamped a lid down on what they could do and become. At the height of their success, Dick and Maurice found themselves smack dab against the law of the lid. At the height of their success, they found themselves smack dab against the law of the lid. The brothers partnered with a leader. In 1954, the brothers hooked up with a man named Ray Kroc, who was a leader. Kroc had been running a small company he founded, which sold machines for making milkshakes. He knew about McDonald's. The restaurant was one of his best customers. And as soon as he visited the store, he had a vision for its potential. In his mind, he could see the restaurant nationwide in hundreds of markets. And he soon struck a deal with Dick and Maurice. In 1955, he formed McDonald's Systems, Inc., later called McDonald's Corporation. Kroc immediately bought the rights to a franchise so that he could use it as a model and prototype. He would use it to sell other franchises. Oh my gosh, this is so freaking juicy. Then he began to assemble a team and build an organization to make McDonald's a nationwide entity. He recruited and hired the sharpest people he could find, and his team grew in the size and ability. His people developed additional recruits with leadership skill. In the early years, Kroc sacrificed a lot. Though he was in his mid-50s, he worked long hours as he had when he first got started in the business 30 years earlier. He eliminated many frills at home, including his country club membership, which he later said added 10 strokes to his golf game. During his first 8 years with McDonald's, he took no salary. Not only that, but he personally borrowed money from the bank and against his life insurance to help cover the salaries of a few key leaders he wanted on the team. He sacrificed his leadership. His sacrifice and leadership paid off. In 1961, for the sum of $2.7 million, Kroc bought the exclusive rights to McDonald's from the brothers, and then he proceeded to turn it into an American institution and global entity. The lid in the life of leadership in Ray Kroc was obviously much higher than those of his predecessors. In the years that Dick and Maurice McDonald had attempted to franchise their food and service business, they managed to sell the concept to just 15 buyers, only 10 of whom actually opened the restaurants. And even that size enterprise, their limited leadership and vision were hindrances. And for example, when their first franchisee, Neil Fox of Phoenix, told the brothers that he wanted to call his restaurant McDonald's, Dick's response was, "What for? McDonald's means nothing in Phoenix." Oh my gosh. In contrast, the leadership lid in Ray Kroc's life was sky high. Between 1955 and 1959, 4 years, he succeeded in opening 100 restaurants. 4 years after that, there were 500 McDonald's. And today, the company has opened more than 31,000 restaurants in 119 countries. Leadership ability, or more specifically, the lack of leadership ability, was the lid on the McDonald brothers' effectiveness. Ooh, damn. Wow. Such a strong, freaking powerful story. Success without leadership. I believe that success is within the reach of just about everyone. But I also believe that personal success without leadership ability brings only limited effectiveness. Without leadership ability, a person's impact is only a fraction of what it could be with good leadership. The higher you want to climb, the more you need leadership. Yeah. The greater the impact you want to make, the greater your influence needs to be. And whatever you will accomplish is restricted by your ability to lead others. Let me give you a picture of what I mean. Let's say that when it comes to success, you're an 8 on a scale from 1 to 10, and that's pretty good. I think it would be safe to say that McDonald brothers were in that range. But let's also say that the leadership isn't even on your radar. You don't even care about it. You don't make no effort to develop it as a leader. So you're functioning as a 1. Your level of effectiveness would look like this. Oh, he has charts. Okay, get the book. Okay. And it's freaking pouring outside. I don't know if you guys can hear this thunder, but I feel like this is speaking to me right now. Okay. Thank you, God. This is so freaking powerful. To increase your level of effectiveness, you have a couple of choices. You could work very hard to increase your dedication to success and excellence, to work toward becoming a 10. It's possible that you can make it to that level. The law of diminishing returns says that the effort it would take to increase those last 2 points might take more energy than it did to achieve the first 8. If you really killed yourself, you might increase your success by 25%. But you have another option. You can work hard. You can work hard to increase your level of leadership. Let's say that your natural leadership ability is at a 4, slightly below average. And just by using whatever God-given talent you have, you already increase your effectiveness by 300%. So let's just say that you become a real student of leadership and you maximize your potential. You take it all the way to a 7, and visually, the results will look like this. So you go from this, having a 10 level, success dedication, but then your level of leadership is so low. But if you were to compare it to like a level of success dedication, but then now your leadership increases by 7 instead of 1, now you're looking at this maximum, like mass growth. By raising your leadership ability without increasing your success dedication at all, you can increase your original effectiveness by 600%. And leadership has a multiplying effect. I've seen its impact again and again in all kinds of businesses and nonprofit organizations. And that's why I've taught leadership for more than 30 years. Come on now. Come on now. Now you're speaking. Johnny Pooh. John Maxwell coming in hot to change the direction of the organization, change the leader. Leadership ability is always the lid on personal and organizational effectiveness. Leadership ability is always the lid on personal and organizational effectiveness. If a person's leadership is strong, the organization lid is high. But if it's not, the organization is limited. And that's why in times of trouble, organizations naturally look for new leadership. When the country is experiencing hard times, it elects a new president. When a company is losing money, they hire a new CEO. When a church is floundering, it searches for a new senior pastor. When a sports team keeps losing, it looks for a new head coach. The relationship between leadership and effectiveness is perhaps most of the prominent, the most evident in sports where results are immediate and obvious. And within professional sports and organizations, the talent on the team is rarely the issue. Within professional sports organizations, the talent on the team is rarely the issue. It's the leadership. Just about every team has highly talented players, and leadership is the issue. It starts with the team's owner and continues with the coach and some key players. When talented teams don't win, examine the leadership. Wherever you look, you can find smart, talented, successful people who are able to go only so far because of the limitations of their leadership. So, for example, when Apple got started in the late 1970s, Steve Wozniak was the brains behind the Apple computer. His leadership lid was low, but that was not the case for his partner, Steve Jobs. His lid was so high that he built a world-class organization and gave it a 9-digit value. That's the impact of the law of the lid. In 1980s, I met Don Stephenson, the chairman of Global Hospitality Resources of San Diego, California, an international hospitality advisory and consulting firm. Over lunch, I asked him about his organization. Today, he primarily does consulting, but back then, his company took over the management of hotels and resorts that weren't doing well financially. His company oversaw many excellent facilities such as La Costa in Southern California. Don said that whenever his people went into an organization to take it over, they always started by doing two things. First, they trained all the staff to improve their level of service to the customers. And then second, they fired the leader. And when he told me that, I was so surprised. You always fire him? I asked. Every time? He said, that's right, every time. Don't you talk to the person first to check him out to see if he's a good leader? I said. No, he answered. If he'd been a good leader, the organization wouldn't be in a mess that it is in. And I thought to myself, of course, it's the law of the lid. To reach the highest level of effectiveness, you have to raise the lid one way or another. The good news is that getting rid of the leader isn't the only way. Just as I teach in conferences that there is a lid, I also teach that you can actually raise it, but that's the subject of another law of leadership. So here's what I want you to do. Okay, I'm going to be reading Applying the Law of the Lid to Your Life, which is the final part of this first chapter, which is off the frickin' chain. Great freaking job, John C. Maxwell, for this amazing book. I'm so pumped. This just set the bar really high. I'm really, really excited about this. So here's how to apply the law of the lid. There's 3 main points. Number 1, list some of your major goals. Try to focus on significant objectives, things that will require a year or longer of your time. List at least 5, but no more than 10 items. Now identify which ones will require participation or cooperation of other people. And for these activities, your leadership ability will greatly impact your effectiveness. Number 2, assess your leadership ability. Complete the leadership evaluation appendix A at the back of the book to get an idea of your basic leadership ability. Ooh, I'm about to do that. Ask others to rate your leadership. Talk to your boss, your spouse, 2 colleagues at your level, and 3 people you lead about your leadership ability, and ask each of them to rate you on a scale from 1 to 10. Each of the following areas: people skills, planning and strategic thinking, vision, results. Average the scores and then compare them to your own assessment. Based on these assessments, is your leadership skill better or worse than you expected? If there is a gap between the assessment and that of others, what do you think is the cause? How willing are you to grow in the area of leadership? That is a really great question, and I'm about to do this exercise because I honestly, just looking at these 4 main levels: people skills, I feel like I'm at a 7. Planning and strategic thinking, I feel like I'm at a planning, yes, I'm definitely like a 7. Strategic thinking, I think I'm at an 8. Okay, I'll give myself people skills 7, 8, and then vision, I'm a freaking 11. Vision for me is everything, okay? And then results, because I'm so like, I don't look at the small little details and I need a lot of people to help me reach that goal. I feel like I'm at a 5 with results, to be honest with you. If I was to rate myself, and I know that I can get better at results 100% because I've done it before. It just needs to be more consistent. So I'm excited for this. I'm excited to hear your numbers. Make sure to put them in the comments below. I'm so freaking pumped about this. I don't know if you guys can tell. It's freaking awesome because the last book that we covered, it's one of my favorite books of all time, which is Your Next 5 Moves by Patrick Bet-David. But I'm so freaking happy about this 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership by John C. Maxwell. I love when books are written with stories, because when they're all just data-driven mumbo jumbo, like, you lose me, and the fact that he started off with the freaking McDonald's story, the way that he started out the McDonald's story, I'm freaking pumped. Anywho, I hope you got a lot of value from this. I'm super excited for what's to come. I'll talk to you soon. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.